Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and able to leap tall buildings in a single bound are words commonly associated with heroes. But how about the words that never gave up, fought until the end, paid the ultimate sacrifice? Heroes are around us every day, but sadly for many of us to know of their actions, they have to pay the ultimate sacrifice first. Jason Cunningham was one of these men, a pararescueman with the United States Air Force. Jason's motto was that so others may live, and Jason lived by this motto up until his last breath. To truly understand what a hero Jason was, we'll look at the events leading up to the Battle of Roberts Ridge, Jason's actions during the battle, and the events leading up to Jason's demise. Let's begin with where our hero's story began to unfold. Following information was from an article under militaryphotos.net, which was That Others May Live, Jason Cunningham. Two SEAL teams, Mako 30 and Mako 21, were to be inserted on the peak Chakur Gar, which was an observation point overlooking the Shai-Kot Valley, where there was a heavily dug-in Taliban force. Two helicopters, Razor 03 and Razor 04, would carry the SEALs in and insert them onto the position. As Razor 03 came into land, that's when all hell broke loose. Just prior to landing, an RPG round struck the left side of Razor 03, and when it began to fly out of the area, one of the SEALs in the back, Neil Roberts, flew out of the open ramp of the helicopter. As Razor 03 tried to come back around to save Roberts, the helicopter was too wounded from the RPG round and had to return to base. So at that point, Razor 04 was then inserted with the other SEAL team to retrieve Roberts. Immediately upon deplaning the helicopter, they came under heavy fire and had to give up the high ground in order to survive. So to regain the high ground and have any chance of saving Roberts, they called in a Ranger Quick Reaction Force. So with the SEALs being almost overran by the enemy, Roberts fading away slowly, the Ranger Quick Reaction Force was on the way, and with him was a pararescueman by the name of Jason Cunningham, who was willing to jump into this fight even though he had nothing to do with it. The following information was taken from a book, Not a Good Day to Die. As Jason's helicopter came into the wrong landing zone, which was the hot one, the helicopter came under immediate and disabling fire. The helicopter was downed immediately, and as the Rangers ran out the back to try and secure the area, they began taking casualties immediately from machine gun fire and heavy mortar fire. With regard for personal safety, Jason stayed in the helicopter, even though he knew the Taliban were targeting it to treat the wounded. Suddenly, as a fire broke out into the cockpit, Jason and the other medic that was with him had to make an immediate decision, and that was to expose themselves to enemy fire to get the casualties out of there before the fire engulfed the entire helicopter. With the odds stacked against him, Jason continued to fight and never quit no matter how bad the situation was. Jason's determination and loyalty to saving others would soon run out, though, and he had to pay the ultimate sacrifice. Jason's commitment to his brothers in arms would cost him his life. While fighting off the enemy and returning the 11th time to save a wounded person, Jason was mortally shot in the stomach. Injured and slowly bleeding out, Jason continued to fight to move the wounded, and then if need be, fire back on the enemy. Multiple times, they would be running in waist-deep snow to move these patients, and Jason would run back and forth, holding off the enemy, giving aid to these wounded men without regard for personal safety whatsoever. The call was put out for a medevac chopper to come in and get some of these casualties off, but due to the heavy fighting by the Taliban force, no helicopter could get in there for a while. So Jason, knowing what his demise would be, kept fighting, kept aiding, even though he knew how he had been shot was bad. At 19:30, Jason breathed his last breath and collapsed from loss of blood loss and internal injuries. The other Air Force Special Ops guys that were for 30 minutes tried to revive Jason with CPR, but he had lost too much blood and his wounds were too great. Jason was credited with saving the lives of dozens of men on the battlefield and sending many of them home. Jason, who you can see here with his wife, was the man that saved all those lives out there on the battlefield. So how does this ordinary man qualify to become a hero? Jason's story began the night that Neil Roberts fell out of the back of that helicopter, and when the SEALs who were trying to rescue him came under heavy fire. As Jason rode into the area, knowing that the odds were stacked against him, he went in anywhere without regard for personal safety. Any normal man would have curled up into a ball after Jason's helicopter had been shot down, but Jason, calm, decided to stay in there and hold his own against the enemy. He held off invading forces, treated the wounded, and moved the wounded under fire several times. Even after being wounded, Jason knew what his outcome would be, but continued to fight on and give 100% the entire time. Jason left nothing out there on the battlefield and gave it all until the end, and left everything out there for the men he didn't even know. So what does it take to become a hero? It doesn't take special powers to become a hero. It takes a willingness to help others and put their needs before your own. Going to the aid of others when the odds are stacked against you. Giving 100% to something until there is nothing left, and if need be, to give your life for the safety and love of another.